Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spurs from the Sands. I'm Sarah, and we have a game tomorrow. So if you've still got your head in the sand from Saturday, it's time to put that chin up because we move on, we move forward. And today we're talking about the situation for the game tomorrow, but also the predicted lineup, predicted scoreline, and all of that jazz. And just to say, if you're new around here, I was going back over a lot of my videos that I've done over the last month. Keep in mind, we've only been doing this channel for 1 month. So if you're new around here, please do like, subscribe, share, and all of that jazz, because it definitely does help the channel. But just to say that I was going to call this video survival mode. And when I was thinking about it, the video that I did for Dortmund, I called survival mode. And I was thinking about, because nothing in life stays the same. You may have the same situation, but as long as you're taking those lessons on board and you're learning, you're always moving forward. And so for that reason, I've called this video a test of character, because I believe that's what tomorrow is going to be. It's going to be a test of character, not just for Frank, but mainly for the players. And also, just to say, I realized that the video yesterday was a little bit down tempo. It was a little bit downbeat, but we were all feeling the heat of everything. And so today I've chosen my Choose Happiness jumper in honor of my mum, who was very concerned about my well-being in the last video. So despite the fact that she doesn't like football, I think she caught on that maybe the general feeling around what's going on around Tottenham Hotspur right now is not great. So even those people that don't support Spurs are feeling the ripple effects of what us fans are feeling right now. So we are going to dive into the game. I just watched Frank's presser before the game. So look, just to kick us off, the morale of everyone is low. And I know, probably like a lot of people who are going to the game tomorrow, we're not looking forward to this one. We are nervous. And to go into a game nervous is not an ideal feeling that you want to have, because when you're nervous, you're tense in your body. And when you're tense in your body, that's how injuries happen. And that feeling manifests itself in other ways on the pitch. And I know that one of the things that I'm getting feedback from you guys is that one of the things you like about this channel is that we're talking about things beyond football. We're also talking about things like mindset, because look, how I've always seen football is these players who are playing at the top of their game already have a really solid mindset. And with anything in life, everything is pretty much 80% mindset and 20% skill. Skill can be taught. In any job that you have, skills can be taught. And if you have repetition, if you trust your intuition, if you're instinctively a good player, and there's plenty of those players out there, then there's no reason why you can't win a game. So the question then becomes, well, why does everyone not win a game? And part of that, of course, is how things play out in those 90 minutes. But it's also about your mindset. Your mindset plays such a big part. And I think that the football evolution that's happened over the past 20 years has recognized that. And that is why now you see football clubs have a setup of sports psychologists and player liaison officers and so many other facilities to help support the players through their journey of professional football, because the intensity of not just the game, but the social media and press that comes around that is so intense. And you really have to learn as a player, and I'm not a player, but from what I've seen from high performers, is that you have to be able to shield yourself from all of the outside noise, in the same way that when you put yourself out there in a YouTube video, you're going to get people that disagree with you, and that's okay. Not everyone can agree all of the time. The main thing is that you're on the same trajectory, you have the same vision. How you get there actually doesn't matter. What matters is that you're taking steps in the right direction. And so this game is a test of character. And we don't care about, I speak for Spurs fans. I don't know if this is true, but for me personally, I don't really care if we're not going to be playing this like flair football. As long as we get it over the line and we show a performance, I will be content with that. I'm not content with the bigger overall picture of everything, as I'm sure you are as well. But this the games are going to come thick and fast. And so we just have to move forward. You put one step in front of the other. You get out of bed when you don't want to. You show up. You do your best. You perform. And that's how it goes. Okay, so there are no excuses tomorrow. We wipe the slate clean, forget about United, forget about Romero. We move forward. He's not in the match day squad, as we know, because he's been suspended. And that brings us on to talking about the lineup. So, obviously, both clubs are in a bad spot right now. Both clubs are out of form. Probably the most out of form clubs at the time of making this video in the Premier League. So the challenge with Spurs is when we face opponents, or historically this season, what we've done is we've allowed them to get into the game. And that's because of how we start the game. And so this game, we need to kick off. We need to take it to them. And we are at home. There should be no excuses. And I am a bit worried about how the atmosphere is going to be tomorrow, because that is going to have an impact and an influence on the game. I'm hoping that because it's an evening game, that there's going to be a different vibe around the stadium compared to maybe like an early Saturday kickoff. I am skeptical about that. I am going to the game, and considering me myself and feeling a bit nervous about this, I would imagine that other people are as well. So look, we have to have our chins up. We haven't got our tails up, but we've got to have our chins up. And look, there was a phrase, what is it? You would rather be the tail of the fox than the head of the lion. In other words, if you get relegated to Champions League, you're the head of the lion. But if you're in the Premier League, you, at the moment where it stands, is with the tail of the fox. And when you're the tail of the fox, you've got all of that in front of you that you can aspire to be. When you're obviously in the lower leagues, you don't have that potential for growth. So from a growth mindset perspective, you have to be looking at things not just from survival mode, because that implies that the negative spiral has taken control of the outcome. Whereas this is a test of character, right? You show up as if you are the best player in your position on that pitch, okay? So in terms of the lineup tomorrow, we have updates from Frank that Destiny Udogie is going to be out for 4 to 5 weeks with a hamstring injury. Jed Spence is going to be back in the squad. Kevin Danso is still weeks away, so we don't have any clarity around that. But I think given that we think it's weeks away, it's going to be a long-term injury yet again. Kulusevski has had an appointment at the end of this week where we'll know more. But I think it's safe to say from what Frank elaborated on that in the press conference just now was that he doesn't think he didn't say he doesn't think, he said he doesn't know if he's going to make it as part of the squad this season. So I'd say that this is another season where he's going to be out. And obviously our captain, Christian Romero, is suspended. So I would imagine that Van der Ven is going to be the captain in this game. Now, in the last video that I did, I put it out to you guys, the speculation or the idea that maybe we should change formation, and would a 4-4-2 be something that could be maybe something that could play out positively for us given the personnel that we have in the squad. And I saw some of you wrote in the comments, so thank you very much for your comments, because I read them all. Whether we agree or disagree, I think all opinions are valid. Opinion-based sport. So some of you were saying that a 4-3-2-1 could work better than this 4-2-3-1 could work better than this 4-3-2-1 situation that we've got, or that we've seen over the past few games. Well, we kind of changed it to 3 at the back and 5, but look, whatever tactics you choose, it hasn't been working out. So let's just say that I don't know if a 4-4-2 is the one, but I was thinking about some of your suggestions of a 4-2-3-1 in this game. And I think that formation is one which suits us the best. Why we haven't really played it, I don't know. But I think that's down to like the defensive setup of the squad. So we have to go out there on the front foot. And for that reason, I think we need to be doing a 4-2-3-1 for this game. Whether we go with that or not, I don't know. And I'm not too sure. Obviously, Newcastle have lost their last three. They drew against PSG, and then before that, they lost against Villa. So they haven't taken a win in their last five as well. So this is very much, this is different to Man United, where they were coming into the game with the mindset that they were going to win it, because Newcastle is probably just as nervous as we are to play that game tomorrow. So look, based on a 4-2-3-1 lineup, and obviously we don't know if this is how it's going to play out, but this is what I would like to see tomorrow. Okay, not necessarily what I think is going to happen, but what I'd like to see happen. And the reason why I'm not saying the 4-4-2 is because I don't think it's going to be expansive enough for this game. I'm still not convinced about Mawani and having it sort of like being stacked in the midfield. I'm not convinced. I think that Solanke is strong enough to start this game up top, as long as the personnel behind him are going to give him service, because you cannot score a goal if you don't get service. And Solanke is not scoring goals because he's not getting the service. And we were saying this even about Richie. So look, there was obviously conversation around, is Solanke like better than Richie and all of that stuff, and why our defenders are scoring all of the goals and we're relying on set pieces. But if you give your strikers service, it gives them an opportunity to score. It's as simple as that. And if you're not creating opportunities, then your striker is not going to score. So it's really, I mean, in situations like that, it really is that black and white. You have to, it's one thing if you're having 25 shots and you're missing them all. It's another if you're not having any shots and you're not scoring, right? So the difference is that if Solanke gets service, he will score. And that's the bottom line. He has to have delivery in this game. And so that is why I'm going for a 4-2-3-1. So the back line, obviously Vicario is going to be in goal. Now, the back line, we've heard that Jed Spence is going to be back in the squad. I think he's going to play left back. The other option is you play him right back and you play Sousa left back. But I think that he's going to favour Spencer's left back and Gray as right back. Do I like it? No. Do I like it? No, I don't. But I think that's what he's going to do. And I think, obviously, the centre-backs are going to be Dragusin and Van de Ven. So in an ideal world, in an ideal scenario, you'd have Spence probably as right back and your first left back as left back, because that's just the way it goes. But unfortunately, your doggy's now out, so that cannot be a possibility. So look, it is unfortunate. And I also, after the last video, I made a comment about Archie Gray. And I said to you guys, what do we think about Archie Gray? Because I've been let down by Archie Gray, and I don't think he's been stepping up in the way that he needs to. And some of you were of the opinion that it was correct, and you were agreeing, and you were saying, yeah, we expect more from Gray. And some of you were saying he needs an opportunity, and he needs more experience, and he needs more time. So fine, if we're going on that, we'll give him the minutes, and let's hope that he does prove us wrong. I have looked into Archie Gray's statistics. Since then, they are absolutely diabolical. His defensive contributions, 60% compared to similar players. His aerial duels, he won 34%. And this is overall across the season, across similar players in that position. His touches is 33%. So out of all of our players in our squad, Archie Gray has the lowest statistics. He is by far, and I'm sorry to say this because Archie, I love you. I love the fact that you're here with us. I think, you have the potential, but for a £40 million player, you need to be doing better and you need to step into those shoes, and you, Archie, need to step up for this game. Okay, that is what I'm looking for in that back line, because we know Spence is a great one-on-one defender. We know that Van de Ven on his day has the legs, and we know that Dragusin, when he steps up and starts getting over his absence, and he can get some consistency, this is Dragusin's time to shine. We've heard all the talk from his agent, and now is the time to put your money where your mouth is and start playing that way. So I want to see that from both Dragusin and I want to see that from Gray. Okay, Gray, I'm sorry, Gray, to call Gray out in this video because I know that some of you disagreed with me, but go and have a look at the statistics. And I'd love to put it all up here and all of that jazz. But I'm going live on Holly Hotspurs in just under 2 hours. So if you want to go and watch some more of that, 7 o'clock tonight, you can go and check me out over there. But Archie Gray needs to step up. No questions asked. For our two in front of that, I think he's going to go Paulinho for sure, because you need that security in front of the back line. Now, I did have a question mark whether he was going to go with Gallagher or Sarr. I prefer Gallagher over Sarr, but I think both make the squad if you do a 4-2-3-1 lineup or formation. And the reason for that is because you can put Sarr next to Paulinho. Now, Sarr, I think from what I recall, and I could be wrong on this, I think Sarr has quite a good record against Newcastle. I don't know why I say that, but Sarr needs to come out flying. Paulinho is solid, okay? He lost his head a little bit in the last game, but that was understandable because we were sitting back. If you play the three in front, you're more progressive, and so you mitigate that problem of being on the back foot all of the time. So Sarr, actually, considering Sarr hasn't been playing that many games, his aerial duels won is 71% and his defensive contributions have been 73%. So when you compare that to Gray, he is leagues ahead of Gray, okay? Now, look, I get it. Gray's a young kid. He needs to grow into himself. But the expectation I have from a £40 million player is way more than what Gray is showing us. So Sarr, I think, with his legs and being the box-to-box, if he can show us in this game, I think that's also going to give us more opportunity, or the ability to create more opportunities up top, which brings us to the front three. So obviously Solanke is going to be our striker. Odegaard was unlucky that last game he got pulled from the squad. However, in the first 30 minutes, I don't think he had his best start to a game. And I am putting Odegaard on the right for this game, but I am worried whether that is the right choice. I've got to be honest, guys. I've got to be honest, because Odegaard, he has these games where he's like outstanding, and we've seen that in the Champions League games, but he has not been good enough in the Premier League. And this is a character test for Odegaard, okay? He needs to also show us that this game, he is worthy of being in the starting lineup, okay? I don't know how far Kudus is away from making the starting lineup, but Odegaard has some work to do to prove himself that he is the guy to start on that right-hand side for the time being. Because otherwise, yes, you do have to change the formation back to the 3-2-1, which none of us like. So Odegaard, you have to be playing this game with all of your heart and to the best of your ability, and creating opportunities and starting on the front foot in a different way to what you did against United. You need to clean the slate for yourself, and you need to pick yourself up and give yourself a good talking to, because if Frank's not going to do it, someone else does. And that means you in the mirror before the game, hyping yourself up. Be your own hype man. And that's what I can say to Odegaard. So I think next to Odegaard, I think goes Gallagher. And I think on the left of Gallagher goes Simmons. Do I love it? No. Do I think Gallagher, Simmons and Odegaard in the front three is better than Simmons and then Muani on the left? Yes, I do. I also think that Simmons is better when he plays slightly on the left rather than in the 10. I think it just suits him more. Maybe he can grow into that 10 role, but I'm not convinced that he is up to the Premier League standard just yet to do it. And I saw his disappointment. I saw Simmons' disappointment when he came off the pitch after the United game. He was so gutted. He was so gutted. I don't know if you guys saw like some of that footage after the United game, but he was shaking his head like no tomorrow. He was really, really despondent. Like, fair play to him for coming over to the fans, and look, that's how Tell was last year. Tell was exactly the same. I think players that are coming from international leagues are quite shocked about how toxic our fan base is. And the away fans against United were fantastic. I think, look, they were talking about sacking them out, about Romero's right in the board and all of that jazz. But look, different player, same song. Different player, same song. Kulusevski, I don't care about Levy. He don't care about me. We love Kulusevski, whatever. Romero's right. The board is whatever. So, you can change the personnel on the pitch. The fan songs are still going to maintain. So, look, I don't want any more players to be victims of our fans' despondence. I don't know if that's a word, but discontent, shall we say, in this game. Because I don't want to be at our home ground again and calling for sacking of the manager, because that window has been and gone, guys. That window has been and gone. We are well and truly into the second half of the season. 13 games left to play. We have to pick up points. There is no question about it. And Frank said in his press conference that he is desperate to pick up points. I don't like that language. Because when you come from desperation, that is scarcity mindset. Scarcity mindset, opposite of abundance mindset. When you're in flow, when things are clicking, you take the step forward, and that is how you have that test of character rather than desperation. I don't like his language. I don't like the way he says it, but hey, that's Frank. That's on him, and we're not talking about that today. So we have the lineup of Vicario, Gray. Yes, Vicario, Gray, Dragusin, Van de Ven, Spence, midfield of Paulinho, Sarr, then Odegaard, Gallagher, Simmons, and then Solanke. So that's what I think. I don't know if Frank's going to go with that. I think he should. But I wouldn't be surprised if he pushes Gallagher back and we end up being a 4-3-2-1. And I don't like that. But this is Frank and this is his style of play. And look, just a point, because obviously I know that last night the High Performance podcast came out with Pochettino, and I am going to go into that tomorrow because I have spoken about romanticizing our ex-manager. But I wanted to take time to properly give that the conversation around that it really deserves. So we're going to hold fire on the Pochettino conversation. And also, just to say, so you guys have tonight to go and watch that before we dive into that tomorrow. And the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust also just released their report. I just saw it posted on X a few hours ago. They released like a huge annual report, which is 16 pages long. So I haven't had a chance to look through it all yet. And a lot of it's a lot of jargon. But I do want to touch on that in tomorrow's video as well. Let's see what else comes out overnight. But for the moment, stay tuned for that and maybe go and have a look over those couple of talking points if you are a Spurs fanatic and you can't get enough content despite how rubbish we are. So, we'll talk about that tomorrow. So in terms of the prediction for this game, look, guys. Just before I move on to that, I just want to say as well that if that is the lineup, then our first teamers, or our first team players that will be on the bench will be Mwani, Tell, Bissouma, and maybe Souza. And Byfield, although Byfield's not a first team player, but obviously we've seen him make an appearance. So we are only going to have 4 first teamers on the bench tomorrow. So Mickey Van de Ven cannot get injured. No one can afford to get injured tomorrow. Otherwise, we are going to be playing our under 21s or our academy players. And look, maybe it's an opportunity for them. Maybe, there is a space there for someone to step up and take that space, right? Like this in times like this is where young players get an opportunity to show themselves, a bit like Harry Kane, okay? So you never know what's going to come of it. However, we cannot afford to have any injuries. So if everyone can stay fit, maybe do some meditation before the game. And I know not everyone believes in meditation, but to calm your body down, to calm your nervous system down, that's what you need to do when you go into a high performing situation. And look, like, even sometimes I've done talks in front of thousands of people, and that's what you need to do. You need to get yourself in the mindset, because it is nerve-wracking. And look, these players aren't nervous to go out on the pitch, but they're nervous about the backlash that's going to come of it. What are people going to think of me? How are people going to react, and all the media noise, and we're putting our manager under the bus and all of that stuff. So Frank needs to be protecting the players. He needs to be protecting the players, and he needs to be creating an environment for them which is blocking out the noise from all of this talk about the captain, about the board, and all of that stuff. Now, you can't help if that spills into the stadium itself, but they really do need to be trying their best as possible. And this is where you become a unit. This is where you become unified. When you hit rock bottom, that needs to happen. You need to come together. You need to show unity. You need to show character, and you need to step up to the plate. And that is what we are asking from the team tomorrow. Do you guys agree, or do you have a different opinion on the matter? So, in terms of the prediction tomorrow, and I know I keep flip-flopping, I'm like, we're going to do the prediction and then I talk about something else. But in terms of the prediction, so look, guys, when you make a prediction, and I'm not very good at these predictions, I never like to predict games. It's not really in my style. And as my dad said, everyone predicted us to beat West Ham and we lost. So, we predicted a draw against United and we lost. So it seems to be whenever we make a prediction, it doesn't come true. However, my initial thinking was we're going to lose this game 1-0. That was my honest, instant gut, knee-jerk reaction. We're going to lose this 1-0. But after I've thought about it, after I've heard Frank speak, after I've seen the injury list, I think this is going to be a draw. Oh, dear. I think this is going to be a 1-1 draw. We've got no Romero for our set pieces, and I think tomorrow's the day where we get to see an open play goal from Solanke. So that's my 2 cents on the matter. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about the prediction? Do you think it's going to be something similar to what I've said? Do you think it's going to be something else? What do you guys think about the lineup? Do you think we're going to go back to that 4-3-2-1 situation? Do you think 4-4-2 is something that can maybe work? Do you think what I've said might be the formation that we're going to be seeing? How are we feeling about the game? I'd love to hear. I was going to do this as a live, but as I said, in about an hour's time, I will be on Holly Hotspurs. So do come over and join us over there. I think we're on with Sonny and Becky off the top of my head. So can't wait to meet those guys. I'm making all these new friends. But yes, please do like, subscribe, support the channel, because it really, really does help. And also, thank you so much for everyone hyping these videos, because that is amazing. Yeah, fab. Love that. Thank you. So I'll see you all in the next video tomorrow. We'll break it all down. Obviously, because I'm going to the game and it's a late kickoff, and it does take me a while to edit the videos after. I don't know if I'm going to get the match preview the match day vlog out tomorrow evening. So if it's not out tomorrow evening, it'll be out Wednesday morning. I can't guarantee the tone of that right now. But let's see how we're all feeling tomorrow and what the result of the game is. Fingers crossed, we can get it over the line and we can change the direction of this club and where we are heading, because that is what needs to happen to secure our place in the Premier League next season. Bye for now.